MacPherson, not MacPherson, MacPherson. Fair enough. Today we're going back. Not for the bluff. Not for the 23,000. Today we're talking about the part of Tommy MacPherson's story that most people never heard. The part before the ambulance. The months in the French forests. The kilt. The Sten gun. The Maquis. The reason the Germans called him a ghost before they ever knew his name. June 1944. D-Day just happened. Allied forces are pushing inland from Normandy, but behind German lines, in the forests and hills of southern France, something else is happening. Small teams, 3 men, parachuting in at night. Their job, find the French resistance, train them, arm them, turn them into a fighting force that would tie down German units, blow up supply lines, and make the German retreat a nightmare. This was Operation Jedburgh, and Tommy MacPherson was one of the men they dropped in. Now, picture this. You're a German soldier in occupied France, 1944. You're at a checkpoint, tired, war going badly, allies everywhere, and then you see him, a man walking out of the tree line in a kilt, full Highland dress, Tam O'Shanter hat, swagger stick. You blink, is this real? Here's the thing most people don't understand about the kilt. It wasn't just Scottish pride, it was psychological warfare. When German soldiers saw a man in Highland dress, they didn't think, oh, one guy. They thought British officer, which means British troops, which means organized military force somewhere nearby. The kilt said, I am not hiding, I am not afraid. And whatever is behind me is large enough that I don't need to be. It was a uniform, a weapon, and a bluff, all at the same time. Tommy MacPherson understood this perfectly. He also understood something else. The kilt was memorable. Stories spread. French villagers would whisper, Kilt. The Scotsman in the kilt was here, the one who blew the bridge outside Figeac, the one who hit the convoy on the road to Brive. The Germans started hearing the same name everywhere, a figure in Highland dress, appearing and disappearing. They called him a ghost before they knew who he was. Here's a question a lot of you asked in the comments last time. How did he not get caught? Because it wasn't just luck. Tommy MacPherson spoke fluent French. Not textbook French, real French, accent and all. He'd learned it properly before the war. And in occupied France, that was the difference between life and death. He could walk into a village, talk to the mayor, have a drink at the bar, listen to who was saying what, and know, before the Gestapo knew, when something was wrong. But language was only part of it. The bigger challenge was the Maquis themselves. The French resistance wasn't one organization. It was dozens of groups, different politics, different loyalties, different ideas about who should be in charge after the war. Communists didn't trust Gaullists. Gaullists didn't trust anybody. And some groups were more interested in fighting each other than fighting Germans. Tommy's job wasn't just to fight, it was to make these groups work together. Think about that for a second. You're a 24-year-old Scottish officer, dropped into a foreign country, with a radio, a Sten gun, a kilt, and orders to unite factions that have been arguing for 4 years? Oh, and the Gestapo is looking for you. Most people would struggle with one of those problems. Tommy MacPherson handled all of them simultaneously. How? He listened. He didn't arrive telling everyone what to do. He arrived and asked questions. What do you need? What can you do? What do you know? His platoon sergeant from the Durham Light Infantry. Wait, wrong story. His Maquis commanders said the same thing about him that soldiers always said about men like this. He never asked you to do something he wouldn't do himself. The operations were surgical. Bridges that supplied German units, gone. Railway lines that moved troops to Normandy, sabotaged. German convoys on roads through the Massif Central, hit and disappeared. Every operation calculated. Every target chosen for maximum disruption with minimum civilian risk. And after every operation, gone. Back into the forests, back into the hills. The ghost nobody could catch. Now, this is the part I want you to pay attention to, because this is where Tommy MacPherson stops being a legend and becomes a human being. After the war, Tommy went home to Scotland, studied at Oxford, built a successful career in business, timber industry, international work, quiet life. But he never really stopped being Tommy MacPherson. One of you, in the comments last time, left something I couldn't stop thinking about. A detail about Tommy in his 70s, still playing rugby, not watching, playing, against men decades younger, and winning. Now you might laugh at that, old man refusing to admit he's old. But I think it tells you something important. Tommy MacPherson never saw himself as extraordinary. He saw himself as someone who did the job in front of him. In the forests of France, the job was sabotage and organization. On the rugby pitch, the job was winning. Same man, same approach, same refusal to do anything less than his best. His commanding officers during the war said something about him that stuck with me. They said he had the rare ability to be completely calm in situations that made other men panic. Not because he didn't understand the danger, but because panic was inefficient. It wasted time, it clouded thinking, it got people killed. So he simply chose not to panic. Chose. Like it was a decision he made every time. There's a quote from him, from later in life, that I think captures everything. When someone asked him about the kilt, about wearing it in occupied France, about whether he was ever afraid someone would see him and report him, he said, "If you're going to be somewhere you shouldn't be, you might as well look like you're supposed to be there." That's it. That's the whole philosophy. Walk in, look certain, never show doubt, whether you're bluffing 23,000 Germans into surrender, or walking through a French village with a Sten gun under your arm, or playing rugby at 70 against men half your age. Same man, same principle. Every time. Tommy MacPherson died in 2014. He was 93 years old. Military Cross, 2 bars, Legion d'Honneur, 3 times, Papal Knighthood, the most decorated British soldier of his generation. And most people still don't know his name. Here's what his story tells us. The kilt wasn't a costume, it was a statement. I know who I am, I know what I'm doing, and I'm not hiding from anyone. That confidence, not arrogance, confidence, is what made him dangerous. Not to just the Germans in that ambulance moment, but for the entire 2 years in the French forest before it. Now I'm asking you something. 2 questions. First, what do you think was Tommy MacPherson's greatest weapon? His courage, his intelligence, his absolute refusal to panic? Drop it in the comments. I want to know what you think. Second, who do you want next? Some of you mentioned Thomas Todger Jones in the comments. Others asked about Paddy Mayne. Tell me, the next video is your choice. If this story hit you, hit that like button. Every like pushes this to more people. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Every day we bring back the soldiers history forgot. MacPherson deserves to be remembered.